everyone, so for the past couple of months, one of my team members has been using this phone, the Nothing Phone 2, as his primary daily driver. And if you remember, when I first made a video of this phone, there were a lot of optimization issues. But after all this time, Nothing has offered a few crucial updates, so let's talk everything about it in this long-term review video. Okay, let me talk about the design first. Here, my love for the way the Nothing Phone 2 looks and feels in the hands has only grown stronger after all this time. I was also actually kind of skeptical of the durability since this guy is only rocking Gorilla Glass 5 protection on both sides, but I'm happy to report that my unit of the Phone 2 is still in near mint condition, even though we've been using it without a protective case. I am, however, a little concerned about this adhesive layer right here, which seems to have come off on its own. I don't exactly remember when this happened, but this does not look good. Likewise, the Nothing Phone 2 is also quite a big phone. In fact, it's as big as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So if you're someone who prefers relatively compact form factor, then this is something to think about. Then there's Nothing's crown jewel, the Glyph Interface. So what started off as a gimmick on the original Phone 1 has now evolved into something that's much less of a gimmick, I would say. I still don't use it as effectively as Nothing wants me to, but they are just these bits of light show that I enjoy so often. Like the Glyph Composer, for instance, which lets me create my own notifications or ringtones from various sound designs. Or I can even download ones created by other users, like this Interstellar theme one, which I've set as my default ringtone. The Nothing Phone 2's essential notifications is also something I was really looking forward to. Here, as per Nothing, the top right LED strip lights up when you receive notifications from selected apps, and it stays on until you read or dismiss them. But after all these updates, it still does not work as intended. It immediately switches off the notification light after I unlock the phone, even though I haven't looked into or dismissed the said notification. I did complain about this before as well, so seeing that it has not been fixed yet is a bummer for me. Other than this, there are a couple of more glyphy features that looked interesting at first, but I do not find them all that useful, including the glyph-based countdown timer, which honestly should have been pretty convenient if it was built into the default clock app instead of a separate option hidden deep inside the settings. And the fact that it does not have a dedicated widget is just the final nail in the coffin. As for the display, the Phone 2 has served me perfectly fine so far. It looks nice, it's got great colors, and it gets bright enough outdoors. There's really not much else you can ask for. The way Nothing has implemented the 120Hz refresh rate with such finesse further adds to the stellar user experience. And to make sure it does not take a toll on the battery, the Phone 2 also uses LTPO technology to intelligently bring down the refresh rate to as low as 1 Hz whenever necessary to save power. But as I take this phone in and out of my pocket every day, I've been noticing a surprising amount of mistouches here. To be fair, it's not that this happens every single time or anything, but I've seen multiple Phone 2 users address the same issue, so hopefully Nothing looks into it as quickly as possible. And that HDR playback thing that I mentioned in my original review remains to be solved as well. I was actually pretty confident that Nothing would sort it out with updates, but that is yet to happen here. The stereo speakers on this thing have not gotten any better either. Play any song that has a lot of instruments and the Phone 2 thoroughly struggles to maintain the details for an enjoyable listening experience. Here, let me play a demo for you guys. Anyway, I do like how Nothing has refined the haptics over the updates. The vibration feedback actually feels a bit weaker now, but I've got to say that this has made my typing experience significantly more concise. The Nothing Phone 2's performance has been nothing short of incredible too. And it's not just because of the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip and 12GB RAM, but it's all in the software for me. It's all in the Nothing OS 2. So while the first gen Nothing OS was all about building upon stock Android to make it unique to Nothing's brand identity and just fun to get around overall, this time it's more about delivering the most reliable software experience possible, while also adding a bunch of helpful customization features to make using the phone a tad bit simpler. And I definitely think Nothing has been successful in what it set out to achieve. I know I was a little on the fence initially, but after all this time, I can confidently say that the Nothing OS 2 is the smoothest Android skin I've ever used. There's no doubt on that. And the sheer dependability and the state of carefreeness I have with the Phone 2 software is just incredible. As it turns out, there's a very interesting recipe behind this triumph. So to meet the launch deadline for the Phone 1, the company had to essentially rush the Nothing OS 1 into completion by outsourcing engineers and whatnot. Whereas with the version 2, Nothing says that they've gotten rid of all the outsourced code for an in-house one, which helps it make smoother and more stable. And with this, I'm sure those who love customizing their phones will get a kick out of the Nothing OS 2.0 as well. And Nothing's latest spin on stock Android is geared towards letting you get to what you want quicker, mostly with the help of widgets. I'll admit I've never been a big fan of widgets and prefer my home screen clean and tidy, but the way the Nothing Phone 2 lets you set up all sorts of widgets is actually very tempting. I can create ones with swipeable information or even on the lock screen. Plus, Nothing has also committed to up to Android 16 update for this thing, so the Phone 2 is pretty much set on the software side of things. However, one thing I noticed here is that this isn't the most capable 8 Plus Gen 1 powered phone you could find for gaming, especially if you play a lot of open world RPG games like Genshin Impact that are heavy on the GPU. But let me add that playing such games at higher settings is only when I've seen the Nothing Phone 2's cooling system struggle to keep up. Otherwise, its thermals have never ever been a problem. Okay, that brings me to the cameras, and this was one of the aspects that Nothing needed to work on to optimize the cameras better. And the latest 2.0.2a update has actually fixed a bunch of my camera woes with the Nothing Phone 2. Take the regular daytime shots for example. The Phone 2 used to favor a lot of contrast and poppy colors in the photos before, which has since been dialed down a notch or two. As a result, I'm getting a lot of more palatable photos with close to natural saturation levels and everything. The images retain a good amount of details too, although I think Nothing can still improve a bit in terms of HDR performance in daylight conditions. Likewise, Phone 2's cameras have gotten better during the night too. Exposure handling used to be somewhat of a hit or a miss here when you have had a ton of light sources in the background, but that's not an issue anymore. The way it controls highlights looks really good, even if Nothing still does not provide a dedicated night mode. Talking about the selfies, well, selfies were always one of the strongest points about the Phone 2's cameras, and nothing's changed on that front. I absolutely love how it preserves a natural subject skin tone, and the way it handles harsh backgrounds has gotten noticeably better as well. The latest update has also refined the Phone 2's portrait capabilities, especially in the 2x option, which is a bit more consistent with the 1x mode now. But yeah, HDR portraits, which is where I've seen many people complain about, need to get more dependable than this. I'm not saying it messes up exposure every time or anything, but there have been occasions when I'm thinking, wait a minute, I thought the Phone 2 took better portraits than this. And like the portraits, its ultra-wide-angle shots are not exactly as fine-tuned as I liked either. The images turn out slightly warmer with a darker contrast compared to natural shots, while the dynamic range is especially concerning sometimes. As for videos, I've noticed some improvements in how it handles contrast, but that's about it. Nothing also mentioned something about better stability in one of the updates, but I am not seeing it. and the videos come off decently steady at all resolutions from both the main and ultra wide angle cameras. I don't have much to say about the selfie videos either. It is still limited to just an 80p 60 fps and the videos maintain nice skin tone. Oh yes, there's one more thing actually, not about the camera quality but rather the app itself. So for some reason, Nothing assumes that having consistent vibration feedback is a good idea when using the leveler. But not only it is utterly unnecessary and annoying, that haptics can mess up the framing itself. Okay, besides all the other improvements, battery life is another thing that's gotten better with updates. I used to get like 6 to 6.5 hours of screen on time before, but that's gone up by like half an hour on average. Not only that, but the overnight battery drain has significantly dropped too. Okay, let's wrap up things now, and looking back at everything that I've discussed so far, I feel like the Nothing Phone 2 is still a pretty great upper mid-range phone that's gotten more polished and more capable over time. Yeah, it's a bit pricey and I would have liked it if it had 256GB of base storage, but overall its unique design mixed with a nice display, decent battery backup, fairly reliable cameras and some of the most reliable software experience, I believe it makes a compelling offering no matter what. And the way Nothing has been so persistently pushing software updates to sort out the issues makes me more confident about the phone too than I can say for most other brands. But with some fresh new competition in the market, I do admit that the Phone 2's appeal has gotten a little shaky, mostly from the new Oppo Reno 10 Pro Plus from Oppo, which brings an even more convincing camera experience with its dedicated telephoto lens, among a few other things. I am coming up with its review pretty soon as well, where I'll be comparing its cameras against the Nothing Phone 2, so you would definitely want to stay tuned. Do subscribe and hit that bell icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima and I'll see you soon.